Okay, so let's share the slide. Just a moment. Okay. Everyone seeing the slide now?
ครับอาจารย์
Okay. ขอบคุณครับ So let's state that this is a word from Spanish Road Association. Spain is one of the European countries that have about the same size of our population, and their roads, are quite like us. But however, they have got done a good job in terms of reducing many fatalities, on their road system. How can they do that? This presentation gives you some insight of what they do. Okay. Okay, I go a little bit faster on the slides. Okay. They want to show this slide shows some of the numbers on statistics of the accidents in Europe. It's good to compare to different countries, as I mentioned, because even in Europe, you may have heard that in states like in countries like Norway, Sweden, Finland, those countries have very strong objectives of reducing number of accidents. You may have heard about Vision Zero. Vision Zero is about no accident, no fatality on road crashes. Actually in 2030, WHO has a global objective to reduce the number of fatalities by road crashes to half of what you have. For example, if you have about 28 deaths per 100,000 inhabitants people, then you will just need to reduce to 14 deaths per 100,000 people, something like this. So it maybe varies by countries. However, in terms of management, it involves with many authorities, road authorities, Department of Land Transport, for example, and so on. Their problems varies by country. So, however, they have a comparison of country by country, like you are seeing here. So this is the number of passenger car occupants death per billion passenger car kilometers. There are many measurements of what I'm going to say. Depends on what they are looking at. The per billion passenger car kilometers is like the number of vehicles that travel along the road. The number of vehicles travel, they have a definition like VKT, vehicle kilometer travel. In America, they say vehicle mile travel. Okay, so it's like the number of vehicles multiplies by length of the road section, and multiply by the number of days they travel. In 1 year, in particular road section, they would see that there are how many vehicles that travel in that section. Okay, so in low volume sections, in rural area, they may have like a very few cars per day, compared to in a big city, there may be 200,000 vehicles travel in a day. So when you compare, you know, the road with the other roads, then you may need to wait up with, the travel, the number of vehicles that travel. So this is one of the major of the measurement they use. Okay, they compare with other, Eastern Europe too. So in Eastern Europe, they quite likely have a higher number of deaths. Okay, this is per million inhabitants. Okay. Latvia, Lithuania, Cyprus, they have got more than, Netherlands, Sweden, those kind of things. However, you can, this slide is per million passenger cars. If a country that, has low volume of the cars, a few days may have the number of the rates very quite high, okay, compared to a country that have a lot of cars. So the denominators are larger. Anyway, the goal of WHO is trying to reduce the number of fatalities. So every country try to follow the Stockholm Declaration, which involved with the policy of Vision Zero. So as our role as the highway engineer or traffic engineer, we cannot overlook at this goal, because we are part of the the factors that may contribute to the death. Okay. All right. So on these figures, they want to just to show some of the involvement with the factors on the road crash. Okay, I see first. This number is quite different from different countries. Okay, they divided into 3 groups. First is the road and environment as a factor. The road users as a factor, okay, and vehicles as a factor. If we talked about road and environment, we talked about the conditions of the road and the condition of the environment, such as raining, poor weather, maybe snow, maybe the effect of rain, even flood. Okay, road conditions involve like potholes, road that slippery, maybe less traction, bad friction, or maybe the design of the road, like what you have learned earlier, like they didn't design a curve very well. It's a sharp curve, and there's somebody who's driving at a high speed crashing that curve. Rather, they they change the alignment or maybe the road have a super elevation. They didn't do anything, so the road itself has a direct impact to the crash. So the first row, this is the same with, they say, simple factor. Okay, That means this is the percentage that contributes to the crash. So this is the road and environment. On this side, it's just 2 to 3%. However, road user itself, I mean human factors like drunk driving, driving recklessly, driving too fast, it involves 65 to 67%. On the contrary, vehicles only, maybe something like the braking system breakdown is just about 2%. Okay, so the first row is just individual factor or individual itself. The second one involves with either road and environment interact with the road user. Now the percentage is higher, 24 to 27%. Like as I said, a curve that is sharp and the road user never didn't slow the speed when they drive. So the contribution of both factors come into play. So this part is, higher number now, rather than just individually. Similarly, road users and vehicles 4 to 6%. This number may be a little bit higher in our country because, depends on the policy. For example, if we may keep older cars on the street more than older cars in Europe, because the older cars in Europe may have a much more, not only maintenance costs but also some of problems like gas consumption. If you realize that the cost of gas varies by country, and in Europe they are quite high. Okay, something like this contribute to keeping the old vehicles. They rather change to more high fuel efficiency and better cars. So newer vehicles tend to have a better condition of the vehicles. So it's getting better. Airbags, those kind of things involving. Triple factors. This involve with the all three together: road and environment, road users and vehicles contribute to 1 to 3%. Okay, and this one shows the double factor between the road and the vehicle. Okay. This also details of the road factors. Okay. Let me see. I'm not. Everybody is in the class. Okay. All right. Okay. So the left column here showing causes of crashes. Okay. The first one, I think they wrote it incorrectly. It should be in unsuitable speed or overspeeding. This is said inadequate speed. I think it's not right. I think it's not right. It should be inappropriate speed driving. That means it could be overspeeding, could be slow moving, speed differentiation, slow moving vehicle with high speed vehicles. It could be leading to very high differences between slow and the faster vehicles. So it could be into types. Forbidden movement, something like you go into the wrong way, should not be on the left lane, but you still you go through while you are in the left lane, for example. Invasions of contrary lane, this is oncoming crashes. Not keeping safety distance, like this one is like you following the front car too close. Okay, do not keep distance apart very well. distraction quite, high number. If you see here, it means that some people may, driving and using cell phone, maybe this kind of thing. This is part of the distraction, or doing something in the car whatsoever. Didn't keep the eyes on the road. Tiredness is likeง่วง แล้วขับ okay, so you have like do not have enough sleep and then you're still driving. This contribute to a lot of big crashes, I tell you. So in Thailand, okay, the cases that we witnessed that has a very big problem is drunk driving and tiredness. Okay, so other conditions contributes too, but to get to these factors, okay, to get into these factors, you have a lot of things to do. I tell you, this data has to collect very well, okay? So it's not just somebody writing down, okay, driving too fast, that's the cause of accident, and then done. No, they have to have a good investigation, a good organization to get the information right. Otherwise, you cannot get all of these, factors very clear. Okay. Sometimes if you just, overlook at the details of the data, then you cannot identify the right problem. Okay. So in our situation in Thailand, we got this kind of problem now, especially the first cause of accident, overspeeding. Okay, more than 80% of the cause saying the overspeeding. Is this right? Yes, of course it's right, because we put the posted speed only 80 kilometer per hour in city and 90 kilometer per hour in rural area. So definitely some may go above 90 easily, while our cars are capable with driving as 220. So this is also part of the causes that we raise our speed limit, in some certain roads to 120 kilometer per hour. But on that conditions, you have to think of whether the design of the road are proper or not. Okay. So in our road, we need to mitigate the problems as you may know from the news, like for those who can drive 120 kilometer per hour and minimum 100 on the right lane, the road conditions must meet. First, it has the concrete barrier in the median. Okay, concrete barrier in the median. Second, there's no accurate U-turn. No accurate U-turn. Okay, and must be more than 4 lanes and above. Okay, so to meet all of these conditions, then we will allow to put 120 kilometer per hour and minimum 100 on the right lane most. Actually, there are several more factors, but it's not written in the laws. Okay, the most important factors I want to say is about the speed, the 85th percentile speed. Okay, if the 85th percentile speed is above 105 kilometer per hour, then that road may be suitable to drive 120. Okay, you should get to learn about 85th, okay, or 85th percentile of speed, okay, you should go find out, okay, to understand what is the V85 means and why it's used for controlling the speed on highway. All right. Anyway, some of the conclusions on their roads, okay, it's about, this is in Spain, we come back to Spain, okay. They said high percent of road accident in secondary roads, okay. So you need to understand a little bit more concept of road hierarchy, okay, or ลำดับชั้นของถนน or road classification, okay, road hierarchy, road classification, and you will learn a bit in a bit later in a few minutes. Okay. Anyway, it said about 30% of accidents are road runoff. That means if you got involved in accident, is almost 1/3, okay, almost 1/3 is about run off the road, get off the road that crashed to something, okay, crash to something that off the road, okay, ชนต้นไม้หรือชนเสาหรือตกข้างทางไปอันนี้ถือว่าเป็น run off the road. Okay, the speed and the distraction involved. Pedestrian run over ชนคน oh my god, this is very you know, it depends on how fast they go, okay. Use of restraint system, okay, 28% of killed, 105 not using safety belts, okay. So there are many people who do not use safety belts, okay. Anyway, let's go to the tools for safe road management, okay. This can be applied to our road system too, because each country, they may have their own development of the tool, okay, but they all go to the same concept with WHO, okay. So whatsoever, it may be slightly different of each country, but the main concept is still the same. So they go to the reactive strategies, okay, management of high accident rate road sections. So high accident rate road section, we talked about black spot, okay, and in this slide you will learn about white spot too, okay. It's the opposite black spot. What does black spot mean? Okay, you can go find out. But the white spot is here, okay. Safety inspection. In Thailand, we talked about road safety audit, okay, RSA, road safety audit. So an inspector go find out whether the road condition is met to the standards or not, okay. So if it's not met, so they got to, you know, fix it by putting them in, or maybe suggestion to use some other method to change the road user behavior. So okay, so reactive strategies, two of them. Preventive strategy, okay, road safety too, but this one is on the new and the existing roads, okay. Road safety impact assessment. This is also something quite new for Thailand, okay. Road safety impact assessment. So instead of just you know, go and check the road, but whether they meet its condition or not, but they also think of what happened if something has been developed on this area, what is going to happen to the road safety? What is going to happen to the movement of the flow of the network? Something about this. This is a preventive strategy. Okay. Improvement of road and environment perception. This one. Urban context. Okay, in urban area. Last week we talked about, the design of the road in urban area. Okay, so it's involved with many design and is the main objectives of them are the same, which is reduce the motor vehicle speeds as much as possible. So if you learn that 20 kilometers per hour, how many people die if there's someone involved with a crash? But if you go to 60 kilometers per hour, then how many people could die because of cannot braking, ahead. Yeah. So, and the mitigation of conflicts among other road users, these are important too. So we have to learn that there are many people who use the road too. So it's not just motorists, okay? Handicaps, bikers, pedestrians, maybe some, kids, who play around. So this kind of thing, we have to make sure that the safe system approach has been utilized. Okay. In the rural context, dangerous road section speed accesses. So yeah, this one you've got to maintain, the design, maintain the equipment, maintain the speed enforcement as the tool, as the mitigation, so that the mobility is good, keep mobility, but also still safety in mind. Okay. Reduction of level of danger, forgiving roads. Okay, so this part is very important. Okay. Reduction of level of danger, forgiving roads. Do you know about the forgiving roads? Anybody? Anybody here? Can you guess? พูดเป็นไทยก็ได้นะครับ forgiving road อยากฟัง
ทางเอกเหรอครับ
อะไรนะครับ
คือแบบทางเอกหรือเปล่าครับอาจารย์
ทางเอก
มั้ง
ยังไม่ใช่ครับ แต่ก็ขอบคุณที่ตอบครับคนอื่นล่ะครับท่านอื่น21 คนตอนนี้โอเคท่านอื่นนะครับขอรู้ไหม forgiving road ไม่รู้ไม่เป็นไรนะครับเดาได้ Okay, so I can give you some examples. It said reduction of level of danger. Instead of one that got accidentally involved with a crash, okay, we do not award them with the death penalty. If I talk like this, do you understand? ถ้ามีคนหนึ่งที่ต้องเกี่ยวข้องกับอุบัติเหตุแล้วเขาเนี่ยต้องไม่ได้รับโทษประหารสมมติขับรถไปบนเส้นทางแล้วปรากฏว่าหลับในเขาจะไม่ข้ามถนนไป อีกฝั่งตรงข้ามแล้วไปชนคนอื่นตาย อย่างนี้คือโทษประหารถูกไหมข้ามไปชนคนอื่นตายปุ๊บอีกฝั่งหนึ่งไม่รู้อีโหนยเน่ก็ตายด้วย เพราะฉะนั้น the road should be well equipped with some protections. Okay, for example, we may have a guardrail on that section of the road, so that person will not get off the road. Okay, getting off the road could lead to many possibilities of severe injury or fatality. If one leaves the road and crash into a tree or a pole, which is a fixed object, you hit it, boom. If the car is not equipped with something that protect you enough, like airbags, restraint, seatbelt, one could have a very severe injuries. If you've seen many video footages on YouTube, you may have seen that. Oh my God! There are many examples. One that crashed into a tree, and they had to use them, scissor to cut the metal and pull the victims out of the car. And most of them do not, stay alive. Crash at scene, die at scene mostly. So example like this shouldn't, let them die in that way. Okay. So rather, have nothing on the road, let them have something, the equipment. But, it's not easily to install all the road equipment on our national, on our highway network, because it's too much investment into it. Okay, so we want people to understand and be aware about their own behavior. So they should not drive when they are tired. They should not drive and when they drink drunk. Okay, maybe one of you may experience a drunk and then drive. Okay, I used to too when I was your age, teenage. Okay, I used to intoxicated and drive, and I did not want to do that again because my friends also in the car too. So it could lead to many sorrows. Okay, to all of the families involved. Okay, many of Thammasat, students got into a crash on Phol Yotin Road in the past. Okay, so I don't want to talk about that, but many of them were intoxicated or drunk and drive. Anyway, as I mentioned, there may be some other technique to avoid those who may already that did that, like rumble strips. Okay, shoulder rumble strip. If you ever heard about shoulder rumble strip, you may can Google and find out about shoulder rumble strip. What are they made for? Okay, it's a very ingenious method to awake road user who about to sleep, but I don't know. It's difficult to implement here in Thailand. I just want to ask you why it's very difficult. Okay, try to think about it, and you might find out why it's not easy to implement. Okay. But on motorways or on the on road sections that have no motorcycles, it may be okay. Okay, it may be okay because if you notice that on motorways there are no not allowed for motorcyclists to drive. So shoulders will not have any motorcycle to use it. It's very easy to install in that way. But on other highways, on national highways, there are many of motorcyclists to drive on the shoulder. So with the texture is if they dry on it, it may slip and fall. So rather have this kind of design, they may have to have a different method to awake people who drive and get tired. So for gaving roads, you should find out what it can be. Okay, what they can be. What should we do with the forgiving roads? Okay. All right. Any questions from here? Okay. No. I continue. Okay. So those three factors: involvement, and the one more aspect here, enforcement. Okay, involved to the road users to induce higher road safety. That's what we also do it on routes that gonna use higher speed, like route number 32 on Ayutthaya. Okay, more enforcement over there. Okay. Anyhow, photos from what you see here is kind of showing the different, compared to the different perspective compared to the slide that I showed you last week. Last week was in China, right? So this is in Spain. I don't know which city. Not Athens though. I think they pick up some cities. But in Europe, they have, some places like this all over. If you already did the homework about traffic calming, some of them are these too. Okay. Yeah. So they put all of the tricks to to make it was safer. This photo on the left and the right photo here to compare when they put some road markings and island to create a safer environment to the streets of over here. This is like a three-way intersections, right? And they have this kind of island and the better road marking and more signs to give them the priorities to the vehicles and pedestrians. Over here on the left, this is a chicane, okay, not chicken. So instead of driving with higher speed, they cannot do it because this one they have got to do the zigzag, and there's a pedestrian crosswalk over here. So this part is to reduce the speed before hitting the area of pedestrian. Similarly too. Okay. It's not easy for for our country if our perspective of streets usage is still think that more lanes, more civilization. Okay. Well, in the past, yes, it looked like if there are streets in your areas and it's big, it's huge, that means these areas are more developed. But nowadays it's totally different because if you see that there are a number of accidents that happened, it's involved with the through traffic and the local traffic. So the city that has a number big lanes, big number of roads, big number of lanes tend to have more high speed passing through the city, while the locals still using the same road. Local community, local traveling, this just going back and forth just in a few kilometers, maybe go to just across the street, that's it. So it's not a good design in that way if you have high speed versus the city in using the same street. Okay, in the rural here, well, we have a good pavement marking to show which lane they should use, and the red marking usually visualize that is something that could be danger in front of you. Okay, slow down. Okay. In many rural areas, the road could be just 2 lanes. And there's not many of the street lighting. So delineators, such as traffic pole like this, okay, delineator, reflector, it could help you guide you to travel at nighttime. Okay, just using the headlamp, you can see this is like the curve in front of you. In Thailand, we use chevron sign too along the curve. So maybe you can go and find, in some areas. Okay. This is showing the cost effectiveness of road safety measures. Okay, so load riding have very high number, 23.7. The location of utility poles. Utility poles is one of the objects relocating, go out of the area of clear zone, then would save a lot more chance of crashes. Road signing 16. Removal of obstacles, reducing the sight distance. Okay, I'm sorry, increasing the sight distance, something like that. Central reservation safety barrier. And this one I don't get it. Okay. Anyway, these are the countermeasures that you can also use for increasing the road safety or in forgiving roads. Okay. All right. White spot. So we have the definition of black spot. You should go and find out what they are. Okay. The white spot has also a definition here. It said road section of a certain length where during a certain period of time, no fatality accidents have happened. That means this section is good, it's clear instead. Okay, so it's a good example for you to look at this kind of white spot. So if we just focus on the black spot, sometimes as you see the factors, it's not just the road itself, it's about the road with other things. So with the human behavior, once in a while, the black spot may change the location too. Okay, but for those that never have had any accident before in a certain period of time, that means this design or this particular section of the road are quite well equipped with safety measure. So for Spanish authority, they given the white spot as the road section with 25 kilometers long, where at the last 5 years, no fatalities have happened. And this is okay. So there, the number. Okay, I don't understand that much, but it's showing the road segment. Okay, and how long it is for the road segment is. The green one is 5 to 50 kilometer. The blue is 50 to 100, and the red is 100 and 200. Okay, and it said here these are the sections that can be called wide road. Okay, no accident. Okay, so driving on those roads should be safe if you and their characteristic of those roads is said here. The design speed is just 80 to 90 kilometers per hour. The average daily traffic is about 700 to 1400. Oh, I think for this number, for 80 kilometer and no more than 32,000 per day. I think that's the number. I think they should have a column. This one making me, I'm not sure what does this mean. Oh, maybe this is the average. I'm not sure. Lower bound, upper bound, maybe. Percent truck, percent heavy vehicle. But anyway, the road sign is less than 7 years old, and the refractance level 1 is good. Road marking 150 MCD lux per square meter. This is the measurement of ค่าสะท้อนแสงนะครับ Okay, so these are examples of good road. Well, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing here is quite rural, not many activities. There are a lot of signs, and they may have a very good speed enforcement too. Yeah, this is what I mentioned, reflectors. This helps you drive on the road, at night very well. It shows the edge of the road, and it could be hard if you drive during the raining season where there's some water on the street. Road marking with water, if it's sometimes you cannot see very well, okay, because the film of water cover the marking, okay. But this one you can see a lot clearer at night, okay. So one, like, I don't know, you guys ever experience driving at night in some rural area on small streets? If they have something like this, you will drive very easy. Yeah. Side distance is clear, of course. Okay. So this slide showing a good conclusion for the design recommendation. Okay. Instead, control relationship and present heavy vehicle. So let's see. Okay, I think this one should show right here the correlation. Okay. If there are not many vehicles, okay, 700 to 1400 in rural area, This is just lane timing from this number. Should be just 10% to 70% vehicle. And if there are a lot more of vehicles, you should keep about this number 7 to 9%. Okay. Consider 3-meter width lanes. Okay, 3-meter width lanes. Our road is 3.5. Okay, Thai system is 3.5. America is about 3.6. Okay. Avoid very wide shoulders. If it's wider than 1.5 meters, you should induce, I think this one induce a number of people to park on the shoulder, or maybe using the shoulder as a travel lane. Provide right maintenance of road markings. Yeah, of course, right maintenance. Provide road signs. The diameter should be greater than 90 centimeter, and the reflectance level is greater than 1. Yeah, provide guidance equipment. This one is very important. Guidance equipment, like what is in here. Guidance equipment. Okay. It's anyway. Okay. Not only the statistic that you seen earlier is about compare with different denominators. They also compare with other type of crashes to other road users. These photos involve showing the pedestrians that pedestrians คนเดินเท้า are the vulnerable group of road users. Why? Because they nothing to cover, and they tend to walk slow. Okay, so something that faster come in, that you cannot avoid. Belgium, Finland, Luxembourg, Sweden, France, they have a quite low percent of pedestrian death compared to the total deaths. This is the year 2002. It's quite old, these figures. Okay. Global vision. Global vision. If you look at our, if they compare in our country, you see this number should be nothing to compare. We have a very high number of accidents involving the two-wheelers or motorcyclists. This is motorcyclists. This is cyclists. Well, in Thailand, we don't have much of the number of bicyclists, but we have a lot of motorcyclists. So I feel that the design of the roads of our nation, our network, are not accommodate well for the pedestrians and for the bicyclists. So this not induce, I'm sorry, is did not give you, he did not kind of introducing people to bike or to use the road with this kind of method, this kind of mode. Not only because our countries are located in very hot climate, okay, but also it's quite likely that you got hit by other vehicles, because bicyclists have no lane. We have to use share lane with other modes, so it's not exclusive lane. Many countries want to let their citizens to bike rather than using motor vehicles. The reason is they want to keep their citizens healthier too. So using public transport, using bicycles are not only a good way to shape their um, urban design and urban activity, but also is a good way to let their citizens to have a healthier body, not obese, not unlike American, I tell you. So Americans quite have a favorite of using their own cars. So you will see a lot of drive-through, McDonald's drive-through, Burger King drive-through, even banks, have a drive-through, pharmacies drive-through, theater drive-through. So has this different culture, as I say. Okay, so this graphic shows the compatibility among road users by size, by vulnerability, by speed. See the top three vulnerability quite high. It's because of its small, but also it is its speed. That speed is quite very low, so it's high chance or some other things that have a higher speed hitting it. Okay. Light vehicles, size medium, low vulnerability, speed is high. All road vehicles, medium and big, low, high. Lorries are trucks. Big, vulnerability is low. I think it could be lowest. Speed is medium because it drives fast. Cannot drive very fast. Buses and coaches, big, low, and medium. Okay, so these are road users that could use. Okay. Okay. Road safety as planning. Now let's get into what we focus on. So from the beginning to here, I give you the idea of road accidents, the crashes, and so on. Now we talk about planning. Planning is what? Is one plan. No? Road hierarchy or road classification. What they are, okay? But it's give you the counter action between congestion, the budget, and the safety. Okay. I have the YouTube that can explain you about the road hierarchy, and I'll show you soon. Okay, but you got to understand that this concept has implemented a long time ago and cannot be implemented just by road authorities. It has to involve with many stakeholders. For example, city plannings, For example, the Department of Planning, ผังเมืองนะครับ maybe involvement with municipals, because okay, it's hard to explain, but I'll show you. I'll show you the YouTube on that. You will get a better view of it. Anyway, the second part, this is the one that I want you to understand. As I mentioned about local movement and the long distance movement. Okay, this is the key. Okay, they should not use the same street. They should save the local movement and have mobilities on the hierarchy of the road that is high level. Uses of the ground minimize possible conflict with traffic. Okay, so access management. If you remember last class, we talked about do not let the access get close to the intersection. That's one of the concept here. So we want to minimize accesses, minimize U-turn. Do not have a very close by U-turn, too many U-turns, something like that. Yeah, access control. Regulate the nature of crosses between different roads. This part, these three of them are quite objectives of road planning for safer road. Okay, so in Europe, they have a different definitions compared to in America, but the concepts are quite the same. Okay. Motorways, main activities, high speed, long distance traffic. Total control access. That means you don't allow access to it. Okay, except at interchange, except at the ramps, entrance or exit ramps. You design for the ramps purposely to get in and out. Okay. Motorways, you can look at the example of our motorways too. Route number 9, route number 7. These are control accesses. Okay. You don't allow pedestrian. You don't let the vehicle stop. But on some chances, you may find that there's emergency ramp for them to stop. Is better than let them, stay on shoulder. But to do that, they have some lanes, some pockets for them to have a safety parking. And they do not allow to, to just sleep over there. I found that there are many of them that, have they may be tired, so they stop for that. Take a few minutes breaks. However, in some countries like this, they do not allow them to stop on the shoulder. Heavy vehicles allowed. Access to private property, no. Okay. Local traffic, very low. Long distance traffic, mainly. The speed designed for 90 to 120 kilometers per hour, so high speed. Distribution roads in America is used the word arterial. So its main activities include movements close to original or final destination. Public transport services, long distance. So this distribution roads could connect to the motorway to connect at the ramp. Okay, and you get off the ramp, you go to the go to this type of road, but it can use a quite high speed too, 60 to 90 kilometers per hour. Okay. Depends on the alignment. But now you have someone, to be able to walk, but is keep low. Vehicle control weight. Okay, cannot have a very big trucks using on this type vehicles, except weight allowed. Okay. Access to private properties, none. Local traffic, main activity. So, okay, long distance traffic suitable for medium distance. Access roads. So distribution roads may have number of access roads connected. Okay. So the main activities are access for vehicles and delivery of products and services to the land. Pedestrian regulated across. Vehicle stop could be more. Okay. Heavy vehicles could be more, but still though, this one shall control the weight. Okay. Access to private main activities. Local traffic secondary. Long distance none. Okay. Speed limit less than 50 kilometers. Now in residential area or in the CBD city business district, commercial business district. Okay. This area keep more, locals to walk, to shop. So you have number of people can walk. So main activities for those kind of shopping, shop trips. Vehicle stop allow. Okay. Heavy vehicles, maybe this is just a kind of a dairy truck, maybe a UPS trucks, maybe บ้านเราใช้อะไรของรถเหลืองๆเนี่ยนึกไม่ออก คือมันก็ต้องทยอยลงเนาะทยอยจากรถ big truck to a smaller truck ครับไม่ได้ให้รถใหญ่เข้าไปเป็นรถ light trucks. Access to private, allow and control. Local traffic, low public transport. So you can have someone maybe residential to get in and out, but not get through, not a long distance to get through. And they are emphasized on public transport, that's buses or streetcars. Long distance, nope. Speed 30 kilometers per hour. So in terms of residential areas, they have a note here to avoid alignments for high speed, anything that high speed. Okay. I mean the classification like distribution road or motorways, those kind of on the high speed, maybe trains, high speed train to avoid them. Avoid long distance, priority to pedestrian, parking. This one important to increase economics in the shopping areas. without good parking spots or good parking system, it could impact a lot of their businesses. So parking are part of the design of the road too. So it, in residential or commercial street, you have to have a good design for those activities. This one also for playgrounds, for walking spots, for maybe parks. Not allow for very heavy traffic, heavy vehicles parking. Industrial areas. In some areas, in Thailand, we also have industrial areas, and many of them, have a poor design of U-turn, poor design of accesses, and this could cause a lot of problems in terms of the conflicts with the traffic flow. Route 303, for example, from Sukhsawat in Bangkok, they got a well-known problem about trucks making a U-turn. If you ever pass through this route, you will see a lot of industrial areas, and there are many activities around there. I mean, mixed use, maybe schools, maybe restaurants, anything with the heavy trucks. So it got a big problem with the area and difficult to change now because the design of the roads is already at the ultimate point. Anyway, in areas such as EEC, Rayong, Chonburi, Chachoengsao, those gonna be a future areas of Thailand where they focus on city planning. They're gonna have a design for roads and places that used for industry, so that high-tech technology, autonomous vehicles, also on laboratories. So they've got to have a lot of people to go there and do businesses. They're gonna bring all the talents from over the world to be there to increase the economy of Thailand. If you think about that, there's gonna be a lot of changes in those areas. You should look at that in your life, that okay, what have changed. I believe that you will witness a lot of changes in that area from after the COVID-19 has passed. Okay, it would pass soon, I believe, once the vaccine are distributed. Okay, out of the, what time is it now? Let's see. Okay, a little bit further. Allow direct and safe access to the road network in the industrial areas. Plan space for load and unloading and parking. Safe cross for pedestrians. Promotion of public transport for workers. Yeah. Commercial area. So far from long distance traffic. Plan space for load and unload and parking. Pedestrian access segregated from vehicle access. Okay. Parking areas for clients and visitors. Promote the use of public transport, considering comfort and clients. Okay. Let me get some water. Okay. Oops. What happened? Oh. Doesn't work properly. Uh-oh. A second. Okay. Sharing. Okay. All right. I think that's about the subjects of these slides. Okay. And now I'm gonna show you about the road classification. Okay, from the YouTube. Just a sec. Share screen. Okay, started. And share the sound. Share the sound. If you cannot hear the sound from the YouTube, let me know. Okay, I'm gonna play now.
Today I want to discuss the basics of roadway hierarchy. This is a really important concept to master if you want to make sure that your cities
ได้ยินครับ
ได้ยินเสียงใน YouTube ใช่ไหมครับ
ใช่ครับ
โอเค ขอบคุณครับ เปิดนะ เดี๋ยวเราไปตรงนี้ด้วยกัน
Today I want to discuss the basics of roadway hierarchy. This is a really important concept to master if you want to make sure that your cities have traffic that functions correctly and that acts predictably. This is something that's not just important in the game, but it's also important in real life. In fact, the Federal Highway Administration keeps track of what they call functional class. And what functional class is it's a way to categorize the most important roads to the nation's economy, defense, and mobility. And to do that, they look at all freeways, interstates, tollways, highways, arterials, and collectors and classify them on the national highway system. Now, the reason for that is because those are the types of roads that prioritize mobility over access. And in the case of an emergency or in the case of trying to get someone to their place of work, these are the roads that would be the most important. So what I have here is all of the different roadway classifications offered in city skylines, categorized from the roadways that prioritize mobility or getting someone from point A to point B quickly, down to those that prioritize access or providing someone the greatest ability to reach a destination. So it's important that you're using local roads, for instance, for access and highways and arterials for mobility, and collectors as the roads in between that connect a neighborhood to an arterial that is prioritizing mobility. And if you use these incorrectly, what you'll end up with is traffic jams. So I've created an illustrative layout for a community. And what I've done here is follow the principles of functional classification. We have our highways, which connect up to our arterials, which connect up to our collectors, and our collectors connect up to our local roads. And what you'll see that I've done here is on our highways, there aren't a ton of exits. There are 2 exits here that meet up with this arterial that rings the community. And the arterial has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points of access to it. The collectors have more points of access, but still fewer than the local roads, which basically provide access everywhere. And this is an important concept to master, and that's access management. You'll want to really think about the number of access points that you're providing to these different roadway classifications based on how high they are in the roadway hierarchy. The higher the classification, highways, arterials, the fewer access points you're going to want to have and the greater distance between those access points. As you get to lower classifications such as collectors and local roads, you can have access that is more frequent and closer spaced. And so you'll see that with the collector roads here. I have, what looks to be 30 tile spacing right here, and I have multiple local roads connecting in between. That's okay because of functional classification and roadway hierarchy. So I've already zoned this area, and what you'll notice is that along arterial roads, I'm placing no housing. You can have some, you'll probably want it to be higher density housing, but the important thing to recognize is that with these higher roadway classifications, you're going to have more traffic that's going faster, that is prioritizing zooming past the building and thus creating more noise. So that sort of density of traffic is good if you're a business and bad if you want to live next to that road. As you get to a lower classification road, a collector, this might be more appropriate, and it's certainly appropriate on a local road. So I've zoned these things with that in mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this simulation quickly, let it build out a little bit, and we will see how our traffic looks. Okay, so I think we've let this build out enough. Let's see how things are functioning. So we have 85% traffic flow without really doing anything. We have 9,500 citizens, and generally there are just a couple areas where there's a great deal of traffic. And these are things that we could remedy with roundabouts, or if we had a modded version of the game, we could certainly do some lane management and remedy some of this stuff. The other considerations are that you could look at routing and see where people are going and try to make key connections either with overpasses or underpasses or just connections to other connecting local roads to collectors or things of that nature that would help improve traffic flow. Let's take a look at a couple other things. So noise. As you can tell, the noise is concentrated around the arterials and the collectors, which means that these local roads that have residential can level up a little better. And they'll be happier as a result. So things are functioning pretty well, and that's because of some of the decisions that we've made. There are things that we could certainly do that could improve things. And there are things that we could do that could make things worse. One of the things that could make things worse would be funneling. So you really want to avoid this. So let's say this ring road around the industrial area were an arterial instead of a collector. Well, if you're following the principles of roadway hierarchy, you should know intuitively that there's a couple things you'll want to do, such as eliminate all of these local roads that connect into that arterial. But now a savvy player would notice that there's only really one way out of this entire area. So that's something that you're going to have to be aware of. This will obviously completely break our traffic flow. Let's take a look. Not working great in this particular area. Interestingly, the average traffic flow is bouncing in between where we were and a little bit worse. But I assume that the longer we let this sim, the worse it will get because, and you see it now, it's backing up because we haven't allowed enough ways out of this neighborhood. So as a result, you want to really make sure that you are respecting roadway hierarchy. So let's take this back to where it should be. Ah, that's so much better. I won't lie, that gave me a bit of a panic attack as a planner. Rezone. Some of the things that I didn't do that could improve traffic flow would be making sure that we have road maintenance depots. And do not place these depots on arterials. Remember, this is a building that needs lots of access, so you'll want to place that on a local road. Now, I know it can be really tempting to place some of your major ploppable buildings on arterials. If you take a look at, let's say, a police station, if you place it on the arterial, you'll notice that the access that you have to wide swaths of the city is higher. And that makes sense. The arterials have higher speeds, we have less intersections, and as a result, the impact is greater than placing it on a local road, for instance. However, these buildings have lots and lots and lots of sims loading from them. So if you place them on an arterial, you're gonna have all of that loading taking place on an arterial. And remember, the purpose of the arterial is mobility, not access. So what you'll see that I've done, I have a hospital here, but the hospital is facing the local road. And the local road is close to a collector and connects directly to an arterial, so that I still get those benefits of being on an arterial while still getting the traffic that I would hope to receive in terms of traffic flow. So there are things that you can do like that that will improve the functionality of your game. The other thing to think about is that there are certain types of roads that are collectors, like this road right here, but function as a local road, or can function as a local road if you maintain them correctly. So let's give this road priority as well as this road. And then we'll take a look at our junctions. So if we go through and treat this like a local road, it will function more like a local road. And as a result, your traffic will improve. And what you'll see here right off the bat is that things are already getting better. So we could do that through the entire network, and my guess is get our traffic closer to 90, maybe even 93, 94, 95%, just by making targeted adjustments to our roadway network. There are other things you could do that might make a local road, for instance, a one-way.
Okay. So, what you just seen were kind of a mock-up for the urban city, and they use the aspects of road hierarchy to design how the network should be. So they have different purposes of road uses. For example, highway, arterial, collectors, local, and adjacent to the local to the roads of each hierarchies. Different businesses are located. And you also heard that some area they got to keep the noise level to somewhere. So noise and what kind of it? Emissions, okay? Those kind of things are something that we as a traffic planner or transportation planner would focus for the sake of health and life. Okay, so yeah, from here, I think you got a lot of input of the ideas or concepts of the highway design, and to suit the number of crashes, to lower the number of crashes, to induce safety, to make sure that all the road users and local businesses have a well being. So I hope that you understand what we learned today. So I don't know why my face keeps flickering like this. Okay, anyhow, any questions so far? No, no questions? I got to take the photos what we just learned. Anyway, okay. So I think that's the end of the today class. So could you please turn on your camera? Thank you. Let's see. เศรษฐโรจน์มาไหมครับถ่ายรูปกัน ษฐโรจน์มาไหมครับศิลาครับนัทธนิตครับนัทธนิตครับกันพิเศษครับกันพิเศษครับปรมาพรครับ
มาค่ะอาจารย์
ขอบคุณครับศิวพรครับศิวพรครับจุลจิตครับ
ครับอาจารย์
ขอบคุณครับพิชยาครับ
ครับอาจารย์
ขอบคุณครับชัยกฤษครับ
ครับผม
ขอบคุณครับปิติชัยปิติชัยไม่อยู่เนอะสิทธิพล
สิทธิพลครับผม
ขอบคุณครับธนพล
ธนพลครับผม
ขอบคุณครับวัชรฤทธิ์
วัชรฤทธิ์ครับ
ขอบคุณครับวาริศราครับ
มาค่ะ
ฮารุณา
มาค่ะ
ขอบคุณครับธัญชน
มาค่ะ
ขอบคุณครับ วัชรพล
มาครับ
ขอบคุณครับณัฐพัฒน์พิชาพัฒน์
มาค่ะ
ขอบคุณครับพานุพงศ์
มาครับ
ขอบคุณครับภพพรส
มาครับ
ขอบคุณครับ สัญญพงศ์
มาครับ
ขอบคุณครับซิมิลัน
มาครับ
สุกฤต
มาครับ
ขอบคุณครับห้วนห้วนสาริยา
มาค่ะ
ขอบคุณครับ เดี๋ยวขอดูจำนวน
อาจารย์ครับเมื่อกี้กันวิเศษไปห้องน้ำมาครับผม
โอเค การพิเศษ
ครับสวัสดีครับ
ครับอ๋อโอเค โอเคครับ เดี๋ยวเราเจอกันที่อังคารหน้าเนาะ
ครับผม
ครับอาจารย์
ครับ แล้วเราก็อาจจะเจอกันอีกทีพฤหัสด้วยนะครับ อังคารพฤหัส ก็ถ้ามีอะไรสงสัยเดี๋ยวก็อีเมลถามหรือว่าไลน์มาถามก็ได้นะครับ ก็วันนี้ก็หวังว่าพวกเราจะได้ความรู้เกี่ยวกับเรื่อง road hierarchy นะครับ แล้วก็เรื่องของ safety aspect ไปพอสมควร แล้วก็ขอให้พวกเราโชคดีครับ แล้วเจอกันครับอาทิตย์หน้าครับ สวัสดี
อาจารย์ครับเมื่อกี้เพื่อนผมเขาเมื่อกี้เขาเปิดไมค์แล้วมันเด้งออกอะครับอาจารย์ณัฐพัฒน์อาจารย์ช่วยเปิดให้เขาเข้ามาหน่อยได้ไหมครับเมื่อกี้เขาบอก
เด้งออกไปแล้วครับ
ใช่ครับอาจารย์ เมื่อกี้เขาเปิดบอกอาจารย์แต่เขาบอกว่าไมค์มันไม่ทำงาน
อ๋อ เดี๋ยวนะสักครู่นะครับ ที่มันไม่เห็น เอ๊ะ ใครนะ ชื่ออะไรนะนัทพัฒน์เขาไม่เห็นเข้ามาอีกแล้วนี่ อยู่ไหน ตอนนี้อยู่ไหนเอ่ยให้เสียงใหม่ได้ไหม ผมไม่เจอเขาเนี่ยอยู่ในนี้อ๋อ โอเคนัทพัฒน์นัทพัฒน์อยู่ไหนเอ่ย ได้ยินไหมครับที่ดูใช่มันขายไปหลายคนเลยเพราะว่าผมเห็นมีอยู่20
อาจารย์ครับ เช็คให้ซิมิลันยังครับ
ซีมิลันเนี่ยเมื่อกี้ไม่ได้ยินเหมือนกัน
เขา
ที่มิลัน
พูด
เขา
แล้ว
เปิ
ครั
ด
บ
ไม
แต่ว่า
ค์
เสียงเบาอะครับ
อ๋อ
ฮัลโหล
เหร
ครั
อบ
อาจารย์
ไหนณัฐพัฒน์ไหนพูดอีกทีได้ไหมครับอ๋อมาละมันเข้าๆหลุดว่ะโอเคไหนซีมิลันเปิดเสียงสิ
ฮัลโหลครับ
ฮัลโหลครับณัฐพัฒ
โอ
น์
เค
มาครับเมื่อกี้
โอเค
เปิดไมค์แล้วมันเด้งครับ
โอเค
เสร็จทัลโลได้ครับอาจารย์
เศรษฐโรจน์ด้วยเหรอณัฐพัฒน์
ครับ
โอเคเดี๋ยวนะรวมกันสิโอเคถูกต้องขอบคุณครับทุกท่าน
ขอบคุณครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับโชคดีครับ
อาจารย์ครับ
ครับ
อาจารย์ได้ยินเสียงผมยังครับ
ได้ยินแล้วครับ
โอเคคือผมไม่แน่ใจว่าสัปดาห์ก่อนๆอาจารย์ได้เช็คชื่อผมหรือเปล่าเพราะว่าผมเพิ่งสลับเปลี่ยนไมค์มา ในตัวของไอเอียร์พอดเนี่ยฮะเพราะว่าตอนแรกมันใช้ไมค์ของคอมผมก็คิดว่าไม่มีปัญหารู้สึกว่าไมค์ของคอมมันยังเงียบอะครับ
อืม
ซิมิลัน
ซิมิลันเนี่ยหายไป2 ครั้งเลย
แสดงว่าอาจารย์อาจจะไม่ได้ยินเสียงผมหรือเปล่าผมไม่แน่ใจ
ไม่ได้ยินเลยครับเพื่อนไม่บอกเลย
ก็ผมก็ไม่แน่ใจแต่ว่า
อ๋อ
ถ้าเกิดดูในคลิปผมก็อยู่ตอนเช็คชื่อนะครับไม่รู้
โอ
ว่า
เค
อาจารย์แล้วผมสงสัยไอ้คลิปอาจารย์ทำไมผมไม่สามารถมันไม่สามารถโหลดเข้าเครื่องได้ที่Google Drive ผมก็งงตรงที่มันเป็นซูมหมายเลข0เลยใช่ไหมครับ
ล่าสุดเหรอครับ
ทั้งหมดเลยผมไปลองย้อนโหลดทำไมมันโหลดไม่มันของผมมันโหลดเข้ามาแต่มันเขียนว่า cannot access อะไรสักอย่างผมก็ไม่แน่ใจว่าทำไมมันย้อนไม่ได้
เพื่อนดูได้ไหมเพื่อนโหลดได้ไหม
ยัง
ผ
ไม่ได้ถามอาจารย์เลยครับยังไม่ได้ถามเพื่อนเลยครับ
แล้วเพราะว่าอันนี้เปิดเป็น Public เลยนะ อยู่ใน Drive
เดี๋ยวอาจารย์รอผมสักครู่นะเดี๋ยวผมจะลอง
ได้
เช็คครั้ง
ล
ล่า
อง
สุ
ดู
ด
โอเค
ซูมจะมีไฟล์ที่เป็นซูม
ผมให้
500 แล้วก็
ผมให้เป็นแบบทั้งโฟลเดอร์อะ
ครับ เดี๋ยวผมไปลองใหม่อีกสักรอบ
ใช้คอมอะไรอยู่ตอนนี้ หรือว่าใช้เป็น iPad
ใช้เป็นคอมตั้งโต๊ะของ Apple นะฮะ
อ๋อ
Get other information from event ดาวน์โหลด
ลิงก์เก่าๆ น่าจะยังอยู่นะ ยกเว้น
ใช่
ไอ้
ครับ
ตัวที่เป็น lost ไอ้ textbook อะตัวนั้นผมไม่ได้แชร์ละ
ครับ
แต่ถ้าดาวน์โหลด
เนี่
ไป
ยอาจารย์มัน
แล้วก็โอเค
มันขึ้นว่า can download file to download file ของผม try enabling third party อันนี้น่าจะไม่รู้ว่าเป็นที่ระบบผมหรืออะไรแต่ว่าของอาจารย์ท่านอื่นหรือของไฟล์อื่นๆที่ผมโหลดจากจากเน็ตแล้วมันก็ปกติแต่ว่าอันนี้ไม่แน่ใจว่าเพราะอะไรอ่ะ
อ๋อ ของอาจารย์คนอื่นใช้ Zoom ไหม หรือว่าใช้ทีม
อ๋อของอาจารย์ท่านอื่นเขาเป็น Microsoft Teams หมดเลยครับ
อ๋อ โอเค
แต่ว่าผมก็ต้องไม่แน่ใจว่าเดี๋ยวต้องถามเพื่อนคนอื่นอีกทีว่า ถ้าเกิดเขาเป็นตัวWindows หรือไม่ก็เป็นโน้ตบุ๊กแบบอื่นมันโหลดได้ไหมอะไรเงี้ยเพราะว่าของผมโหลดดูย้อนไม่ได้ครับแต่มันเห็นมันเข้าถึงได้แต่ว่ามันแค่โหลดไม่ได้นะครับ
แสดงว่า Apple ซูมที่ผมเรคคอร์ดไม่สามารถเปิดบน Apple เนี่ยใช่ไหมน่าจะเป็นอย่างนั้น
ไม่แน่ใจว่าเป็นทุกเครื่องไหมหรือว่าผมต้องไปทำอะไรเพิ่มอะไรเงี้ยครับ
ถ้าเป็นไปได้อย่างนี้ลองถ้ามีลองถามเพื่อนกันดูเนาะว่าเปิดได้ไหมอันที่สองก็คือถ้ามีระบบอื่นอย่างเช่น iPad หรือว่าอะไรเงี้ยลองเปิดดูถ้าเปิดไม่ได้อีกบอกผมเดี๋ยวส่งเป็นอีเมลไปให้แต่ว่ามันจะใหญ่มากอะดิ
มันจะใหญ่ไปใช่ไหมครับใช่
มันจะใหญ่มากเลย หรือไม่ก็บอกอีกทีเพราะว่าไม่งั้นก็อาจจะเซฟใส่จัมป์ไดรฟ์แล้วก็ส่งให้อีกทีหนึ่งก็ได้
ได้ครับผม ได้ครับได้เดี๋ยวผม
ล
จะ
อง
ลอง
เช็คกับเพื่อนๆดูนิดนึง
อีกครั้งหนึ่งโอเคครับ
ครับ
ขอบคุณครับ
ครับ